Adel, we know the agenda of the summit, but who is attending?
Well, there's a list of about 34 countries that has participated in the summit that is ongoing. Among them, about a dozen or so of world leaders, as well as heads of cabinets and foreign ministers and representatives of international organizations like the United Nations Secretary General, the Arab League Secretary General, as well as the African Union Commissioner. So everyone involved in this meeting has been more or less present. There's a quite clear dominance of leaders' presence from the Arab world and the Mediterranean region. That's basically indicates how serious is the regional players involved in the Palestinian crisis and how much they fear implications of that crisis on them. The meeting is ongoing as we speak. In the first open session, it will be followed by a closed session through which the leaders will be discussing a set of plans. The main plan, basically, that the president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, has announced is to reach several steps and try to find how world leaders can cooperate in that regard. Egypt wants basically ceasefire negotiations for that. Before that step, primarily Egypt wants to see humanitarian access into Gaza to immediately help out the civilians. After the talks to begin for the ceasefire, Egypt believes that there should be another round of negotiations to see the possibility of having talks for peace talks between Palestinians and Israeli resume, and finally, hopefully, the plan should be ending with a two-state solution. That's basically the steps that Egypt divided the processes for the world leaders to be discussing on about how to push that forward.
All right, Adel, with that being said, I guess the question that really needs to be asked is, what should we expect from this particular meeting, following up on other meetings that have taken place in the Middle East?
Well, basically, Richard, because of the diversity of the world leaders attending, we're not expecting executive measures because by nature, all of these countries, at the end of the day, they belong to other regional organizations or an international body like the United Nations. And therefore, they will be setting sort of an agenda of what their governments will be following in terms of policies towards the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And therefore, from that, this should later on translate into resolutions through the correspondent organizations like the United Nations, the African Union, and the Arab League, and the European Union. And therefore, it is not expected to hear like these countries agreed to implement something on the ground, but rather for general policies that these countries will be pushing for.